Acho, you buying the Cowboys view Dak as their quarterback of the future like I am?
I'm not, sir. Here's why. Most of y'all listened to that and you checked out after you heard what you want to hear. That's what we do in our society now, right, Marcellus? We listen not to hear the truth, but we listen to hear what we want to hear. Dak is the future of our team. Dak is deserving of anything you put on paper. Relatively speaking.
King.
That's the operative words there. Relatively speaking.
Yes.
What is Dak and who is Dak a relative of? Not a relative of Lamar Jackson. Not a relative of Patrick Mahomes. That's the problem. You could argue he's a relative of Deshaun Watson. You made that argument yesterday. The problem is the worst GM in recent NFL history who made that deal just got fired, Bill O'Brien. So Jerry Jones.
Bad deal, you're saying? I don't want to do that to you.
No, I'm not saying that, but if you're Bill O'Brien, you just can't say that a decision he made with Deshaun Watson is commendable, because then we got to commend him for all his decisions, and I'm refusing to do that.
Yes.
Here's the problem at hand. Relatively speaking, Cowboys fans, I'm not a hater. My experience is my expertise. 2020. Jerry Jones on Jason Witten. First, let me give you more Jerry Jones experience. I would hope he would not be anything ever but a Cowboy. That's what Jerry Jones said in February of 2020. Where does Jason Witten play right now? The Las Vegas Raiders. Jason Witten is far more beloved than Dak Prescott will ever be for the Cowboys unless Dak wins a Super Bowl. Jason Witten is a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Jason Witten is going into the Ring of Honor. Jason Witten can go into Jerry Jones' suite whenever he wants. And Jason Witten doesn't play for the Cowboys, even though Jerry said 7 months ago that he never wanted to see Jason be anything else but a Dallas Cowboy. I'm not going to say that Jerry Jones is a liar. What I'm going to tell you, America, is that Jerry Jones speaks his truth in this moment. And the truth changes. Marcellus, I believe, 55% of marriages end in divorce in America?
Hey, chill.
Something like that. But every time you get down to the altar, what do you say? Till death do we part, to love and to hold from this day on.
Is that what I said?
I think it's probably what you said. But the problem is, it's not that you was lying. It's that people meant it in that moment. So I'm not going to say that Jerry Jones is a liar. But what I'm going to say is how Jerry Jones feels about Dak Prescott right now is not the same how Jerry Jones will feel when it's time to cut the check.
Oh, strong, especially when you went to the marriage place. I was like, damn, I got to go home. I got to renew my vows. till this runs out, baby. Not deaf to do his part. Jerry Jones is telling the truth. He's speaking his truth. Let me tell you why. Because Jerry Jones is saying this. If you're saying Jerry Jones is saying something now, but he would change his mind later, and you're using other examples, it's unfortunate you use that example. Because Jason Witten, you mean the ashes that remain of Jason Witten as a player. That is not Jason Witten. I played with Jason Witten. I don't know who this guy is right now, but he still has a uniform on. Congratulations. But even Jerry Jones, like, look, after a while, come on. This is the problem. You have to frame it properly, and you do a good job of having a good picture with a bad frame. Here's the thing. Jerry Jones said that the injury did not change how the Cowboys view Dak as their franchise quarterback. Remember, he said this last year. And remember, Dak was franchised. So remember going forward that if his views haven't changed of Dak, all that means is, worst case scenario, I'm going to franchise your butt again. Why do I know that? Because the contracts have been restructured for 5 of the Cowboys players quietly this offseason, including Tyron Smith. Why are you restructuring all these contracts? To save some cap room going forward for Dak Prescott's potential franchise tag. But here's my real issue, because I understand where it looks like elastic language, as they say politicians do so often. You talk out of both sides of your mouth, which one to trust. But Jerry is in a contract negotiation. Every time we get a soundbite from Jerry Jones, he's in a contract negotiation, but people like Acho want to give him a lie detector test. You got to understand, he can't negotiate against himself. So as much as he's giving Dak love, he has to have some reservation so he can have some wiggle room whenever he gets to the table with Dak Prescott. But in terms of Dak leaving the Cowboys, there's no way, because they view him in the same way.
Here's my problem with what you're saying is this, Marcellus. If Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott couldn't come up with the long-term deal before Dak was 1-3. Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott could not come up with the long-term deal when Dak Prescott was just 1 year removed from the playoffs. Jerry Jones could not come up with a long-term deal with Dak Prescott before Dak Prescott turned the ball over on his own 20-yard line in the second game of the season, the third game of the season, the fourth game of the season, and the fifth game of the season. He threw a pick 6 to the New York Giants. If Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott could not come up with a long-term deal before he broke his ankle, how in God's name you think they're going to do it now? Because the problem is, in Dak's mind, Dak thinks he is going to be as good as he ever will be, and he should. That's what athletes do. Peyton Manning, he didn't realize he was sorry. Everybody else did except Peyton. Remember the year they won the Super Bowl when he got benched? He still thought he was a dog.
You mean right after that 55 or the 50?
After the 50, when it dropped down to 19.
Well, do that. You can say that.
When it dropped down to
Jason Witten.
Athletes always think they are still going to be as great as they ever can be. Okay. Whereas although Jerry Jones is paying lip service, and you better, Dak Prescott's still recovering from surgery. Don't tell me I'm not going to be the same. Tell me, lie to me. Lie to me. That. The problem is, Marcellus, Dak is going to come to the table saying, hey, I'm still going to be as good. Jerry's going to come to the table and say, hey, bruh, you coming off an injury. There's going to be an even bigger impasse, an even bigger rift. That's why I don't think that Dak's the quarterback of the future.
No way is Dak Prescott going to hit free agency. Insiders are already saying the market for Dak Prescott as a free agent is robust. You can question that all you want, but that's what they're being told. Why are they being told that? Because you're going to have a young leader who will return to form, who has had the third most wins since he's been a quarterback in this league. And let's talk about him, because a lot of times you bring up within the organization a comp of Dak and Tony Romo. Do you know that since Tony Romo was the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, including Dak, they've never had a losing season, Dak and Romo. Only 2 losing seasons since Romo was the quarterback. And those names were John Kitna and Matt Castle, the years where they were the quarterbacks. Combined, 7 and 20 are the quarterbacks outside of Romo and Dak Prescott. And as I said, no losing seasons with those 2 names. So if you're Jerry Jones, you can't even trust yourself to go out there and find the next quarterback. I tell you why. John Kitna, Matt Castle, Brandon Wheaton, Kellen Moore, Brad Johnson, Kyle Orton, and Stephen McGee. All of y'all added up to losing records. And then people want to make this leap and say, well, you got him already. Andy Dalton is in the building. 2-win Andy from last year. Who knows what he does this year? But Andy Dalton came into this situation, and Jerry Jones approached Andy Dalton for one thing in mind. Come back home, reset who you are in the NFL, and get the Teddy Bridgewater plan, which is take whatever you get out of this, even if it's as a backup and you never step on the field, or now you're thrown into service. Take that and now rebuild who you are elsewhere. But that is not happening on the Dallas Cowboys roster. It's Dak's job.
Here's why it is happening. I was in the Cowboys working for them in 2016 and 17. And when Tony Romo got hurt in 2015, Marcellus, you could not tell any Cowboys fan, you couldn't tell Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, you surely couldn't tell me, and you likely couldn't tell you that Tony Romo wouldn't be the starter in 2016. But what happened? Well, even when they drafted Dak Prescott, because I was there.
I know what you're saying, but
even when they drafted Dak Prescott, you could not tell anybody that Tony Romo was not going to be the starter.
Yeah.
But Dak Prescott made Tony Romo dispensable. In the NFL, the only thing you can ever do in your life is preserve the ability to be indispensable. I need to make sure that at no point in time they can get rid of me. I have to do whatever I can. On TV, make yourself indispensable. At any job, make yourself indispensable. The problem is Dak made Tony Romo indispensable. My theory is Andy Dalton might be able to as well. You say 2-win Andy. I could say 1-win Dak. You say 2-win Andy. Instead, let me show you who Andy Dalton was through his first 69 career starts versus Dak. Wait a second. That's got to be a typo. Andy Dalton had more wins through his first 69 starts than Dak. No, that can't be right. Andy Dalton had more passing touchdowns in his first 69 starts than that can't be right. So maybe, Marcellus, just maybe, Andy Dalton is actually competent. Think about this. There are only 2 other offenses, I think, in the NFL that are better than the Cowboys as far as skill positions. So if you think that this Andy Dalton, who came in with no first-team reps, and against the Giants, yes, it was the Giants, but their defense is still good, led them on a game-winning touchdown drive. If you think that Andy Dalton might not make Dak Prescott dispensable, you got something else coming.
Man, we're going to sell tickets at a debate. I'm telling you right now, because you're saying strong things, but once again, great picture, bad frame.
Tell me.
Here's the frame that you have to look at Tony Romo through. Okay. He wasn't durable. Remember, 2012 was the last year Tony Romo played all 16 games. After that, it just kept going down to the point where you had to draft Dak, not as a high draft choice because you're not trying to supplant Tony Romo, but you're starting to whisper upstairs, if he get hurt again, we might have to do something because Tony Romo can't stay healthy to the tune of now you're trying to move that to an Andy Dalton conversation. Here's the problem. You know what the frame of Dak Prescott is? He is durable. This is the first time he's missed a start since he's been a Cowboy. Matter of fact, as of today, he hasn't missed a start as a Cowboy. We have to wait for their next game. And that's why when you're talking about durability, insert that into your mindset when you have this conversation. On top of, Andy Dalton's going to take over from Dak Prescott? How old is Andy Dalton? Well, if you give him money next year, he's going to be 33. That is not Dak Prescott. So Dak Prescott wins in not only age, availability, but inability. That's why Dak's their franchise
Let's
quarterback.
get into round 4 because I got a couple more body blows for you. Cam Newton, is he durable? Would you say Cam Newton's durable?
Yeah.
He's not. He's not.
Yeah.
Cam Newton was durable until he wasn't.
Yeah. That's
Dak
right.
Prescott, he's durable until he's not. Cam Newton was durable 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015 till winning the MVP season. Cam Newton, complete clean bill of health until he got hurt. So, sure, Dak Prescott is durable, but now he's no longer durable. And that's the problem, Marcellus. We're going to look up at the end of the season, and we're going to be able to say this. Out of Dak Prescott has started 16 times 4, 32, 64, 64 plus
That's
another 16.
Do that, Texas, UT.
80. We're going to look up and say this. Dak Prescott could have played in 80 career games, and he's only played in 67.
That's what we're going?
That's what, at the end of this year, that's what we're going to be able to do. Dak Prescott could have played in 80 career games, and he's only played in 67. You can no longer make the claim, Marcellus, that Dak Prescott is durable because he has now gotten hurt. So if your biggest bartering chip is, wait, but Dak is durable, he's not anymore,
well,
unfortunately.
Hold on. Okay. I hate that you did this, but you did this. You weren't even an adult. You were 17.
Here you go. Why he always bring up my age, America?
Well,
why he always bring up my age?
It's 2008. I don't know. Were you 17, 18? Well, what would you do? But it's 2008, and I'm going to use you as a GM. Imagine I chose the GM of the New England Patriots in 2008.
Winning the Super Bowl.
And then he's watching the first game, and he's like, oh, look at Tom Brady. Man, how many Super Bowls we already got? 3? Oh, that boy good. Okay. Oh, he just got hurt. He's out for the year. Acho would sit there and say, okay, we got to back up with Matt Castle. I don't know about Matt Castle. He didn't come here to be Tom Brady 2.0. What? He won 11 games. Oh, Tom Brady, you're durable till you're not. You're out for the entire season. Meanwhile, we replace you with someone who wins 11 games. You know what? Maybe Matt Castle is the quarterback of the future for the Patriots. No, Acho, you're not a GM, and the Patriots didn't do that. That's the right decision. Tom Brady has been durable, was durable, had one injury, just like Dak Prescott.
Let's talk this. Let's talk this. Shout out to my producer for this note.
Y'all in his ear?
Let's talk wins above replacement. Because Matt Castle did win 11 games. And typically, if you were just an alien descending upon Earth and you saw that out of 16 you could win 11, you would say, oh, Matt Castle did amazing. But you have to compare Matt Castle replacing Tom Brady to the Brady standard. Prior to that, the Patriots had won, 3 Super Bowls? Prior to 08, the Patriots had won 12, 13 games. So Matt Castle was actually below the replacement, which was Tom Brady, whom he replaced. Here's the issue. Prior to Andy Dalton, Dak Prescott was 7-11 in his last 18 starts. 7-9 in his last 16. Prior to Andy Dalton, Dak Prescott went 8-8 the year before. So if I'm looking at wins above replacement, if all you're telling me, Marcellus, is that Andy Dalton got to win 7 or 8 games to make Dak Prescott replaceable, I think that's feasible.
I love that argument. Wins above replacement. The problem is, once I replace this quarterback, Dak Prescott, the younger version, the better version, with you, what's going to be the longevity of you continuing this pace?
That's good.
That's problematic if I'm looking at a 33-year-old Andy Dalton, who I think has some football left in him, but elsewhere. Because I got me a young talent that is... Dak Prescott last year had a career year for him. In a contract negotiation, you don't bring the whole team. You don't say, Zeke, come with me. Tyron, come with me. It's you, Dak. And then this year, he was on another career year pace. So that's who you're going to go in front of and say, now, I'm going to change you out. I'm going to exchange you for Andy Dalton. That's what you're not going to do. Even though if Andy Dalton has tremendous success this year, like Matt Castle did, I'm not going to allow myself to not think in projection and in future forecast.
Let me ask you a final question. You know Jerry Jones far, far, far better than I. You've been at this bartering table. Jerry Jones is a shrewd businessman.
Yeah.
Is Jerry Jones offering Dak Prescott more or less money following the injury than he offered Dak Prescott before the injury? I know an answer. I'm hoping for a non-biased answer.
I will guarantee that Dak Prescott gets tagged again because there's not going to...
What's the offer, though? Don't tell me about how it'll end up. What will Jerry Jones... Because I'm sure he'll offer a long-term deal. Will he offer more or less
than the 5 years, 35 before? If he's smart, he will, because then the TV contract kicks into play. You have another year on that, and Dak Prescott doesn't get what he wants, which is that short-term deal. But I'm going to tell you how it ends. It ends in tag again. We're going to be in the same position again next year, almost in the prove-it mindset that you are the same quarterback. You won't let him go to free agency, and Dak is not going to take the same deal or even a lesser deal. So we're at an impasse in that respect.